let's kind of break down the patch a little bit and take a look at how I'm playing some of this stuff live. I played another live set here in Minneapolis this past weekend. It went so much smoother than the first time. One of the biggest differences, like I was showing in the last video, is the addition of this MIDI controller and changing out one of the Bitbox modules for the black box, which gives me a number of advantages. One is just the ability to kind of fade things in and out instead of just kind of triggering and they're all on, or having to have dedicated filters within the case that, you know, kind of work as an on-off switch, but you might be filtering parts out that you don't want to because you only have so many outputs here, right? So being able to fade things in and out, super handy. I also have some of these knobs up here mapped to both the high pass and low pass filters that are here in the Bitbox. So super fun to kind of have that flexibility live. Shifting over, you know, the circadian rhythms is the master clock, as well as handling all the drums out of the Bitbox. So here in this handy little 3-channel stereo or 6 mono Hurlo mixer from Knob.farm, I've got the drums running into the middle channel. And all my samples coming out of the Bitbox there. So master clock here, going into the the black box, and then clock out from the black box into a mult so that I can send that clock to a variety of modules. Things like clocking the delay on the mimeophone, sending clock to the data bender to sync up some of those effects, as well as here in the Prism. And then, you know, Starlab, it's a fantastic reverb. It sounds great. I had a lot of fun using that here at the set. One of the ideas I had, and probably my favorite addition since the first set that I played, was this Lapsus Os. Now, I was looking for a macro style controller that I could simultaneously kind of increase control voltage to a number of parameters within other modules. And since you only have so many hands, sliders like this, being able to create these big spacious reverbs, control a high pass filter for the drums, even do some different effects with the Prism, all simultaneously, and then kind of quickly slam everything back into just the normal drum beat, normal synth lines. It's, in my opinion, an incredibly fun performance style effect that you can do. And so I'll demonstrate this here in a second, but with the Lapsus Os, if you're not as familiar with this module from Noise Engineering, essentially each channel gives you 2 outputs. You can also kind of send CV in here, but I'm just utilizing the outputs on each of these channels. Running them in unipolar mode, it's just a continuous increase in control voltage as you slide this fader up. And obviously I have my module inverted here. So on the first channel, I have 2 parameters being controlled. And so I'm sending control voltage to the wet signal on the Starlab to increase the reverb. I am also controlling the high pass filter via the stereo Prism module here. All my drums are routed through the Prism, and so I can kind of high pass my kick drum and simultaneously pull up the reverb. The second channel is handling the decay from Starlab, and so I can make kind of a bigger space as I push this slider up. And the third channel I have routed to the delay on the Prism, and I can just kind of manually control the time to adjust these rhythmic repeats from that on the drums. And so doing all this simultaneously, I think it's so killer in a live setting to just kind of mix things up and kind of create some excitement here. So I'll bring some of these parts in and just demonstrate this quick. So, I mean, the power of something like this, because, you know, you have flexibility here. You can use all 4 sliders. Some of the other macro controllers on the market, I know, things like the Catalyst will be like a crossfader, and you have all kinds of control voltage options on that. But in terms of the Lapsus, if you don't mind the 4 faders, kind of having to use, I don't know, multiple fingers or whatever to control these, 8 outputs to send to whatever effects you have, or whatever control voltage parameters you want to affect. So, you know, delay on a mimeophone, you know, reverb I think was kind of an obvious one paired with a high pass filter on drums, but you name it, you could do stuff with the data bender. I had definitely the most fun doing that. The other thing is just kind of having this map to the drums high pass filter. With the data bender, I find a lot of the effects that come out of this module are very kind of in the sub bass low frequency that can, and you get this increase in gain when you turn up the mix knob, it seems like. So kind of being able to filter that out simultaneously while increasing the mix on the data bender, I think you're able to filter out a lot of the kind of low end stuff and maybe just focus on some of the kind of higher end glitch, which was what I was finding kind of useful during the set I played. Ice latte. So is this setup dialed? Like, is it perfect? No. Some of you may have been paying attention during that top-down shot. There's a lot of modules in this case right now that aren't even patched. A lot of that was because as I was prepping for the set, I was you know, again, kind of learning, figuring things out as I go. For example, modules like the Scan and Pan, it's a 4 mono input type module with a single set of stereo outputs. And for a lot of the synth information that I was sending from the black box, I was exporting stereo. And so I couldn't find a way to utilize that module without just inherently changing the sound of a lot of the parts that I had built. I come from a very, you know, music production background. A lot of this live stuff is still fairly new to me. And so I like being able to take stuff that I produce in Logic with whatever synth parts and being able to export them onto these micro SDs and parts, play them back live accurately. That's just kind of how I'm going about doing this. This system probably is not for everyone. One of the biggest things about playing live is every time you do, you learn something new. At least it seems that way. You know, you learn how things you can improve upon, or what you wish you could do next time, you know, during the set, and things like that. So it's a huge benefit of doing these live sets right now. My biggest focus with this past set was just trying to kind of slow things down, take it a little easier, stick with, you know, 1 BPM so I didn't have to worry about a bunch of tempo adjustments, and just, you know, see what kind of flexibility I could have with effects to kind of keep things interesting across the hour. And a lot of it was fun. I think it was a big improvement from the first set that I played. I think, like, an addition of a second Prism module, for example, so that I have the flexibility of those effects on both drums and some synth parts. I'm really interested in a lot of stereo modules moving forward. Obviously, there's a lot of parts like, you know, some drum parts, bass lines. I could care less about stereo information, but having that flexibility, especially with synths or maybe different drum samples, not necessarily like kick and snare, that I could bring in and out. Because, for example, I'd really like to start utilizing the Skipman more, get more complex with drums. And just, you know, kind of grow from here. So I've already kind of, you know, been on Modular Grid, plotting some changes for the upcoming sets in May. As I make these adjustments and start prepping for that, I might do another one of these kind of just short demo videos to show the changes. But hopefully, playing some of this live for you guys gives you some ideas if you're considering playing live, or if you already are and just kind of interested in ways that maybe you could spice things up a little bit for your next set. Hopefully some of this was helpful. Okay, so I think that's pretty much where I'm going to leave this video. Hopefully nice and short. And yeah, I hope you guys found some of this interesting or helpful. If you guys have any questions about this system that I can answer for you, let me know down in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, I hope you consider doing so. And I will see you guys again soon after I make some more adjustments to this system. And now I need more coffee. See ya.